Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Monday, which means it's time for a 5x5. This is where I take 5 subjects related to magic. I spend 5 minutes talking about each subject and then I move on to the next subject. It's quick, it's snappy. You never know what you're going to get. Well, today I'm going to be talking to you guys I'm going to do a performer highlight special. Now, if you've never seen the performer highlight special, the idea is that I take a performer that I mad respect and I show you 5 live performances of them actually performing, and then I talk about what we can learn from watching those performances and why that person is such a good performer. And today I'm going to be talking about a personal hero of mine, one of my favorite magicians of all time, and definitely my favorite when I was getting into magic, which is Patrick Page. Now, to give you a little bit of an overview of myself and Patrick Page, I love Patrick Page. When I first got into magic, I didn't know any magicians, and there was a magic shop like miles away that was mainly a fancy dress shop, but it had some magic, and I went over there, and they had videotapes from Tricker Tape by Vic Pinto, which was a magic publishing company back then. And they had a lot of videos by Patrick Page. And so I would go out there every month and I'd buy another video by Patrick Page, and I'd have like how to do the ambitious card, how to do card magic, how to do coin magic, how to do this, how to do that, the table hopper's trouble wit. Anybody remember that? And so I grew up with most of my my knowledge coming from Pat Page. And then when I went to my first Blackpool Magic Convention, which was so long ago, it was when the only place the dealers were in was in the Horseshoe, right? They weren't in that big room, and they were just in the Horseshoe. And I remember seeing Patrick Page there. He had a dealer booth, and I was so nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Patrick Page. And I wanted to go up and say hi, and I was scared to death. I must have stood there for about an hour just looking at his stand and kind of geeing myself up to go over there. And I'll never forget, and this made me in magic as far as I'm concerned, Pat coming up to me and saying, hey, come on, let's get a coffee. He just shut his magic dealership down, went to get a coffee, bought me a drink, and just talked to me about magic and showed me some stuff. And that was just amazing, really, frankly. He didn't need to do that. And since then, I've been a massive fan. Unfortunately, Pat Page is no longer with us, but his legacy lives on forever. And on this video, I'm going to show you 5 tricks, 5 performances of Pat Page. Now, there'll probably be more. It could be very, very easy for me to do a follow-up video to this, and I probably will at some point. But for now, we're going to focus on 5 tricks, 5 performances that I actually had the instructional videos for back in the day. And this is kind of brought back a lot of memories for me, because watching Pat do this stuff was really what solidified my love of magic. And I think if it wasn't for Pat Page, I wouldn't be here now. There'd be no such thing as Magic TV. Ryland would never have got into magic because I never got into magic, and I really do believe that. So I've got a lot to thank Pat Page for, which is why we're going to look at the 5 tricks, and we're going to start.
I'm going to come to an effect which I invented many, many years ago. Yes, I invented it many, many years ago, and my reason for emphasizing that particular point is that over the years there was a little bit of hoo-ha about who devised and invented the trick. Well, take it from me, at this moment of time, you are sitting there looking at the inventor. Anyway, more of that later. Let's get down to the actual effect itself, which is an effect with a number of pieces of blank paper. Each and every one of those pieces of paper are blank on both sides in all directions. And all you need to do is just fold them up and unfold them, and there before your very eyes we've got a whole bunch of genuine $100 bills, all fully printed on both sides. You can, if you want to, I never did one in performance, you can reverse the procedure and you're back where you started with a whole number of blank pieces of paper, each and every one blank on both sides.
So what you just saw there, is easy money. Now, easy money, as Pat said in that video that I played for you, is his creation. Now, there's been so many different versions since then. Hundy 5000, Hindi 5000, Extreme Burn Locked and Loaded. The list goes on and on and on. But the concept of taking 5 blank pieces of paper or taking 5 pieces of a magazine and turning them into real money and letting people see the real money, that gimmick that's used to achieve that, is all Patrick Page. Now, here's the thing that I realized shortly after studying Pat Page. So I didn't realize this when I first met him, but I realized when I really kind of got into the magic that he did, is he was somebody who literally spanned everything when it came to magic. He did coin magic, he did card magic, he did thimbles, he did ropes, he did stage magic, he did stand-up comedy, he did kids magic. He literally did everything. It's why he was so in demand as a consultant, because his magical knowledge was just literally through the roof. There wasn't anything that this man didn't know. And when it comes to creativity, you know, I think that if Pat Page was alive today, he would be considered, I don't know why Pat isn't considered the greatest creator of all time, because his creations and the stuff that he's created and that he's done has literally changed the magic industry over and over and over again. And this is a perfect example. How many people do you know that do extreme burn? You got Pat Page to thank for that. How many people do you know that use this as an opener? I know so many magicians that use this as an opener. So many mentalists. Let's look at Steve Della, for example. I know Steve uses this in gigs. I've seen him every gig. He brings out his extreme burn. I'm telling you right now, he's got Pat Page to thank for this, because if it wasn't for Pat Page doing in essence, what we now know as extreme burn and all these different things. If it wasn't for easy money, none of these other things would have existed. So I think we need to just remember just how awesome Pat Page is. The level of creativity that you would need to come up with something like that. We kind of trivialize it now because it's been around forever. But back in the day, nothing like that ever existed. And Pat had to come up with it from scratch.
Hello, my name is Patrick Page. And on this one-trick video, I'd like to teach you how to perform an effect called the comedy color-changing handkerchief. Now, the original concept for this effect goes back to the 1930s. It was published in a book by Frank Lane and Jen Grant. Since those days, almost every other professional magician in the world had a crack at this effect and came up with their own little personal routines to suit their own style. And that's exactly what I've done. I've come up with a routine that suits me. Now, the interesting point about this routine, it's a performance routine. You need an audience, because you need a certain amount of response from the audience, as you will see when I perform it. In the actual performance, which you'll see in a moment, I will assume that I do have an audience, okay? All right, let's have a look at the effect now. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll show you a little magic trick. If you like it, give me a great big round of applause, and if I get a round of applause, I'll actually teach you how to do the trick. Okay? Right. It's very simple. When I've shown you how this trick works, you all go home and show it to the kids at Christmas. Very simple, with a little yellow handkerchief. And the idea is to tuck that yellow handkerchief into the top of your left fist. Like that. So you tuck the yellow one in the top, you reach underneath, and you pull it out of the bottom, it comes out a different colour. That's clever, isn't it? So you carry on pushing it in the top yellow, pull it underneath red, yellow in the top, red underneath. Until eventually you tuck it all the way into the top of your fist, pull it out the bottom. Bob's your uncle. Did you like that? You did? All right, I'll show you how it works. We actually cheat a little. You need 2 handkerchiefs. You knew. Now you've got to watch this carefully, otherwise you'll never remember how it goes. But you start off with a red handkerchief. That's the red handkerchief. And you start off by tucking the red handkerchief into the top of your left fist. Now this is what's known as a secret preparation. You do this outside where no one can see you. In the bathroom, under the carpet, anywhere you like. Just tuck that red handkerchief all the way into your fist until it's completely out of sight. Now once that red handkerchief's completely out of sight, you can now walk out in your front room ready to show them this trick. Of course, you don't want anyone to know you've got a red handkerchief in your left hand. So always remember, keep a left hand closed. That went well, didn't it? So you walk out there ready to show them this trick, and you start off by tucking the yellow one into the top of your fist. Now this is the clever part. As soon as you start tucking that yellow one into the top of your fist, you can now reach underneath and pull the red one at the bottom. So you carry on pushing the yellow one in the top and pulling the red one under, yellow in the top, red under. But it's very important. Never pull the red one all the way out. They'll know you've got 2 handkerchiefs. So hang on to the end of that red one all the time until the yellow one's out of sight. Once the yellow one's completely out of sight, you can now pull the red one out the bottom, because now you have a problem. You're left with a yellow handkerchief in your left hand. So always remember, keep the left hand closed. Any questions?
So the second routine that you just saw there was called dye tube. Now the dye tube is a trick that's been around since time began. And I remember the dye tube DVD, or this particular performance that you just saw, was one of the first things that I saw of Pat Page when I was very early getting into magic. And it blew me away. I knew what a thumb tip was. You know, when I was first getting into magic, I was like, yeah, I know what a thumb tip is. And he was doing this thing, and I'm like, oh, that's the thumb tip. And then things were changing color and vanishing and reappearing, and I'm like, how is this even possible, right? And then I watched the instructions and realized that Pat's a genius. Here's the thing. What I learned from watching this and watching it back again all these years later is that magic, you know, sometimes and a lot of people do this, close-up magicians and stage performers, they'll gravitate away from silks. It's like, you know, that's for kids. Silk magic is for children. And like I said, Pat Page did do kids magic, but he could take something which a lot of people would think of as a kid's trick, and he could turn it into something that's really powerful and really amazing for all types of people. And that's what you have here. And, you know, the first thing I learned from watching this is don't move away from props just because you think it's too magic-y. You know, what Pat's done here with two handkerchiefs is just like, it would light up any stage when he walked out and did it on stage. The other thing that you need to understand with this is the timing and the pacing. Go back and watch his performance again. Go watch his performance a couple of times. You know, it would be very easy in this to overstate those moments where they think the handkerchief's there and it's not. But the way that he performs it, hey, remember to keep your hand closed, and all of this stuff, it's the way the pacing behind the routine is just as important as the trick itself. And then have a look at the handling. And more importantly, if you know how the dye tube works, go and look how he handles the dye tube. Go and look at the body turn when he's pushing it in. You know, he's not making any sudden movements. He's not doing any big exaggerated movements. Everything looks like it's meant to look, which is pushing a handkerchief into a hand. Everything looks like it's meant to look. And as performers, as magicians, we should strive to get to that level that Pat Page reached, where you can make everything look natural and you can make everything look absolutely amazing. And, you know, I watched this dye tube performance and I'm just in awe at how amazing he handles it.
Where is the ball? Have you seen this before? Where is the ball now? On top of the cup. He knows. On the bottom of the cup, that's right, yeah. So if I put it in my pocket, where is the ball now? Would you be surprised if it's back under the cup? Yeah. So would I, not that bloody good. Now we get faster. You ready? Where is the ball? On top of the cup. On top of the bottom of the cup. Yeah. So if I put it in my pocket, where is it? Let's start again, shall we? Where is it now? On top of the cup, all right. On my pocket, where is it? You're not sure, are you? Find out. You know what that is? It's an old and wrinkled one, isn't it? You did that trick a long time as well. Did that surprise you? Yeah. That's supposed to surprise you. Every magic trick should have a little element. We call it a surprise element. And in this particular trick, that's a surprise element. That's a bloody miracle.
Okay, so you just saw a performance of the Chop Cup, and I hummed and hawed about whether to include the Chop Cup in this. I did. I was thinking, well, you know, I've done these before with various different creators, and I've included Chop Cups. Pat's done so much, I don't need to include a Chop Cup in there. But I did, and I did because it's such an entertaining performance. It really is. And there's a few things I learned from watching Pat do the Chop Cup. And the first is, let's not forget how good the Chop Cup routine is, right? It's amazing. The second thing, don't try and emulate somebody else. You know, I see so many people, and they try to do the Chop Cup just like Paul Daniels. And that's because Paul, arguably, was the greatest Chop Cup expert in the world. I mean, you might say that there's other people out there that do it as well, but I think that Paul Daniels would be up there. This performance was as far removed away from Paul Daniels' performance as you can possibly get. Paul is very fast, and it's like... Pat's was more slowed down. It was more conversational. It was more deliberate. Every moment had purpose. And I'm not saying Pat's better than Paul by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm saying it's different. And don't be afraid to be different. The other thing is, notice he didn't do that many phases. And again, the thing that a lot of magicians do is when they've got a routine where they can do lots of phases, they throw extra phases in for the sake of it. And I've been guilty of that. I love multi-phase routines. And, you know, I remember when I first got into magic, I'd do 456 phases of the ambitious card because I'm thinking, why not? I know 400 ways to make the card come to the top of the deck, and this audience is going to say every goddamn one of them. But that's not necessarily the best approach. Sometimes less is more. And what you saw here is Pat has the skill and the ability to do multiple other phases, but he chose not to. He chose to keep it very, very simple. And the other thing I want you to notice, and I've never seen anyone else do this, is he basically, in essence, did the chop cup in a walk-around situation, but not by having somebody hold their hand out like Martin Sanderson does, but by having them hold onto a tray, which I think is a really good idea, because most gigs that I go to, there's a tray. I can very easily borrow a tray from the audience. I can very easily engineer a fact where there's a tray there. Or if you're doing a house party at the moment, I seem to be doing a lot of house parties. If you're doing a house party and having somebody, hey, have you got a tray? You have. Pass me the tray. Hold on to the tray. And I've never thought about doing chop cup on a tray before. I have actually done in a house party coins through table using a tray, but never chop cup. I think that's a genius idea, and I think people watching this, I think if they try that, I think they'll realise that that makes it more personal, and it basically takes a trick that's designed for a table, and it allows you to do it anytime, anywhere.
Tell me, Marie, do you know what that is?
Top of a purse.
The top of a purse. No, in actual fact, that is a Las Vegas purse. People turn up in Las Vegas from all over the world with purses like that and spend the money. They go home with purses like that. But the thing about a Las Vegas purse is all you do is open it up, reach inside, and you get money. And do you know that people come from all over the world just to throw their money away on the tables in Las Vegas? Do you know that? No. People think they go to Las Vegas to win money. In actual fact, they don't. They go to Las Vegas to lose it. See, there's the purse, and people come from as far away as Hong Kong. Because you know the Chinese people are great gamblers, the most notorious gamblers in the world from Hong Kong. But the funny thing about a Las Vegas purse is that you can't see the money when it's inside it. It's not until you open it up and reach inside that you get the money, and that is a Las Vegas purse.
Okay, so what you just saw there was Pat's purse frame routine. Now, I am a huge lover of purse frame magic. I've got so many different routines with the purse frame. At some point, I might even put a project out on routines with the purse frame. And my love of the purse frame came from Pat Page. Most of the stuff that I'm into comes from Pat Page. And Pat was the first person that I saw a purse frame routine from. It was that routine. And I watched it and I was like, that is so magical. Because as a magician, it's my job to show people magic. And so bringing out an invisible purse and reaching in and taking a coin out, I don't think people realise just how strong a moment that can be. If you've never used a purse frame in your act before, that moment where you just open up a purse and you take out a coin and you put it over there, wow. So, what just happened? That's insane. And Pat's routine was very, very simple. You know, you're going to make a coin appear, you're going to make a coin appear again. Now you're going to have a Chinese coin, bigger one, and now you're going to have a massive Chinese coin. It was all very... Look at the routines that I've shared with you here. They're all very simple. They're all very short. They're not very long. Simple in terms of there's not many phases. What Pat does is he gets to the point. He focuses on the magic and he goes right there. The purse frame routine is a perfect example. I've got purse frame routines that have like 25,000 phases. This is a 4-phase routine, and it's open very, very quickly. We should learn from that and watching Pat Page perform. But also, if you learn anything else, it's please try and throw a purse frame into your act. There's so much you can do with it. If you don't do coins, you can use it for sponge balls. You can use it for cards. You can use it for business cards. There's so many different things that you can do with a purse frame. Which is why I love them so much. I really do. So yeah, I mean that's all I got to say about that. Try it. Go try a purse frame out, and more importantly, try Pat's approach to the purse frame. Keep it really, really simple.
I'd like to show you a little problem. It's a problem with a piece of rope and a ring, and the problem is to get the ring onto the rope into that position. And I think you'll agree there's only one way it can be done. And that is to thread the ring up over the end of the rope like that. That's what most people think, but there is actually another way you can do it. And that is, instead of threading it up over this end, you can actually thread it up over that end. That was a joke. I thought I'd mention it. But I think you'll agree that it's impossible to take that ring, put it on the middle of the rope and do that. Now that cannot be done. Now if that cannot be done, you're probably saying, how did he do it? Well, I'll tell you. There's actually a hole in the middle of the rope. No one ever believes it, and I can tell that you don't believe me either, but look, let me demonstrate. We'll thread the rope up through the ring quite genuinely, and all you have to do is take hold of the ring and pull it right through the hole in the rope. Now do you believe me? It's possible you think I'm maybe trying to make a mug out of you or something, but whilst we're talking about mugs, let's use a mug. This is a mug like you'll find in most kitchens in most countries throughout the world, and what we're going to do is we're going to thread the end of the rope up through the handle of the mug, quite genuinely, so that the mug is now threaded onto the rope. And from there, we place the mug over our back, so it's hanging behind us with the two ends in full view. Now, under normal performing circumstances, which this isn't, I would have a spectator hold the two ends of the rope. But as we haven't got a spectator here, and he'd only get in the way if we did, I'm going to tie the two ends together into a knot so you know that the mug is trapped on the rope behind my back. You just heard it hit the back of the chair. And what you do is you reach behind, and with a little bit of finagling, you can remove the mug from the rope. And the spectator lifts the rope over your head, and all he's left as a clue is that little hole right in the middle of the rope.
Okay, so the final routine that you just saw there was the ring, the rope, and the mug, and I cannot tell you how fooled I was when I first saw this when I was like 18, 19 years old. I have never been so fooled in my life. I didn't know ring and rope. I didn't know how ring and rope worked, and from my point of view, that looked like a real rope. I didn't think there were magnets or anything in it, and you just dropped a ring through the rope, and then you put it back on, and it came off, and it was just like, how would that even be possible? How could you even make a ring go on a rope when it's a solid ring and a solid rope? What sort of sleight of hand would make that happen? And then how does it come off again? And then when he did the thing with the mug, bloody hell, I have never been so fooled in my life. So what can we learn from this? Well, first of all, as with a lot of the other magic that I've shared with you, I want you to notice that Pat has stripped this performance down to its bare bones. I do a ring and rope routine that's like about 18 phases long. And you know, you see like people like Daryl that used to do like a 10-phase routine. Ryland does like an 8-phase routine. This is 3 phases. The ring goes on, the ring comes off, and then you introduce the mug. And sometimes, and I need to check myself on this quite a lot, but you should strip it back. You know, why? They've seen it go on, they've seen it come off. Anything else beyond that is gilding the lily. Unless something different happens, why bother doing it again? They've already seen it. And this is perfect example because it goes on, it comes off. But then he says, well, let's take it to the next level and let's use a mug. And notice the way that he uses the mug is completely different. So the mug goes on, but then he gets the spectator to hold on to the ends. And that's impossible, right? Because from the spectator's point of view, logically, the only way that mug could go off, well, they're probably thinking one of two things. One, the ring is special, so we've eliminated the ring. Or two, now we're using a mug, the only way it can come off is over the ends. So if you hold on to the ends, that's impossible. And it's not a visual moment where the ring comes off, where the mug comes off. It's not visual, but I think it's cerebral. Right? Because they know the mug's on there. Logically, that mug can't fall off that rope. Even if somehow he snuck it off the rope, they're holding on to it. There's nothing to keep it in place. That's impossible. So when he then goes behind his back and pulls the mug off, it's like, well, hang on a minute. How would that even begin to happen? Right? And it's a perfect example of ending big. Which is what he's doing there. And don't be afraid to bring another object in. So you're doing a ring and rope routine. borrow something, borrow a mug, borrow something else. How can you apply this to other magic? The concept of stripping it down and then maybe adding something else in for the big finale. How can you apply that to other routines? Because it's a great concept that we could apply to other routines, and it's something that Pat Page did in his magic over and over again. So there you go, guys. That's another 5x5 in the bag. I just need to say that Pat Page is a legend and every day is missed. May you rest in peace, Mr. Patrick Page. I will be doing more videos like this on Patrick Page. If you want to see them, let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see more videos in general, let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget, I'm going to be back soon with another video. But if you, in the meantime, if you want to go on the Netrix, www.thenetrix.com, hundreds of videos and hundreds of slides. And not only that, we've now got a Discord as well, which is absolutely popping. Hopefully you can join me there. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.